Everyone wants AI. They want faster search, smarter hospitals, better logistics, better cybersecurity, streaming, cloud storage, banking apps, medical records, smart cities, automated everything. But the second a data center gets proposed near their town, people start asking a very different question. Wait, why does this giant windowless building need that much power, that much water, that much land, and why is it coming here? And honestly, that is not a stupid question, because here is the uncomfortable truth. The cloud is not in the sky. AI does not live in a magical digital mist. It lives in buildings, big buildings, buildings filled with servers, electrical systems, cooling equipment, backup generators, fiber connections, security fencing, and enough power demand to make local communities pay attention. So today, we are talking about why people hate data centers near them. Not because data centers are automatically evil, they are not, but because data centers are trade-off machines. They power the digital world, but they also create real questions about land, energy, water, noise, jobs, taxes, and who actually benefits. And as AI keeps growing, this fight is going to show up in more towns, more planning meetings, and more local headlines. Welcome to the Power Edge. Segment 1. Everyone wants AI until the building shows up. Here is the irony. People want the benefits of AI and cloud technology, but they do not always want the infrastructure that makes it possible. They want smart hospitals, but not the power infrastructure behind them. They want instant apps, but not the server farms. They want streaming, cloud storage, cybersecurity, digital banking, and AI tools. But when the physical building shows up, suddenly everyone remembers that the internet has a body, and that body needs space. It needs land, it needs power, it needs cooling, it needs backup systems, it needs maintenance, it needs grid connections, it needs roads, substations, transformers, switchgear, fiber, and utility planning. That is the part people do not see when they are using AI tools from their phone or laptop. The user sees a clean little box on a screen. The community sees a massive building, a new utility load, construction traffic, backup generators, and sometimes a developer they do not fully trust. That is where the conflict starts, because when AI becomes physical, people react differently. It is one thing to say, AI is the future. It is another thing to say, the future is going behind your neighborhood and it needs a substation. Segment 2, the community side is not stupid. A lot of people in the tech world act like community pushback is just ignorance. That is a mistake. Some of the concerns are real. Residents may ask, how much electricity will this use? Will it strain the local grid? Who pays for the upgrades? Will this raise utility costs? How much water will the cooling system need? Will there be constant noise from cooling units or generators? Will backup generators affect air quality? Will this change the look and feel of the area? Will this project create real long-term jobs or just a few security and maintenance roles after construction? Will tax benefits actually reach the community? Will the developer disappear after approval? These are fair questions, and if the answer is vague corporate poetry like economic development and innovation ecosystem, people are going to get suspicious because communities have heard that before. They have seen big projects promise jobs, growth, and opportunity, and then the benefits do not always land where people were told they would. So no, the community is not always anti-technology. Sometimes they are just asking, what are we giving up and what are we actually getting? That is not rebellion, that is due diligence. Segment 3, data centers are not evil, but they are not invisible. Either data centers are not evil by nature. That is too simple. They support hospitals, banks, government systems, emergency services, businesses, schools, cloud platforms, cybersecurity, AI tools, and almost every part of modern life. If data centers went away, people would notice very quickly. Actually, they would notice immediately, probably while yelling at their phones like the phone personally betrayed them. But the problem is that data centers used to feel invisible to most people. They were just part of the internet. Now, because of AI, their footprint is getting harder to ignore. AI workloads can require high-density computing. High-density computing creates more heat. More heat means more cooling. More cooling means more power and more mechanical infrastructure. More power means more grid planning. And more grid planning means communities start asking what this project is doing to their local electrical system. So the issue is not that data centers are bad. The issue is that the digital world has physical consequences. For years, people talked about the cloud like it was weightless. Now the cloud needs substations. That changes the conversation. Segment 4, the real problem is trust. Most communities do not rebel just because a data center exists. They rebel when they feel like something is being done to them instead of with them. That is the real problem. Trust. If a developer shows up late in the process, uses too much jargon, hides behind consultants, or acts like the community should just be grateful, people get defensive, and they should. Because local residents are the ones who have to live with the project. They are the ones who deal with construction traffic. They are the ones who see the building every day. They are the ones who worry about noise, power demand, water use, and quality of life. Meanwhile, the company might be headquartered somewhere else, the users might be somewhere else, and the profits might be going somewhere else. That creates resentment. It starts to feel like the community is carrying the burden of someone else's digital convenience. That is the phrase to remember. Communities push back when they feel like they are carrying the cost of AI without sharing in the benefit. That is where the anger comes from, not always from ignorance, from imbalance. Segment 5, the jobs question. One reason data centers get criticized is the jobs issue. During construction, yes, there can be a lot of activity. Electricians, HVAC contractors, engineers, site workers, security, project managers, equipment vendors, utility crews, and other trades can benefit. That part is real, but once the data center is built, the number of permanent jobs may not feel huge compared with the size of the building, the land use, and the power demand. That is where communities start asking, we gave you all this land and infrastructure access. How many local people are actually working here long term? And that question matters, because when a town hears economic development, they may picture hundreds or thousands of jobs, but a highly automated data center may not deliver that kind of permanent employment. So if developers oversell the job story, they create backlash later. The smarter move is to be honest. Talk about construction jobs. Talk about tax revenue. Talk about vendor opportunities. Talk about local maintenance contracts. Talk about workforce training. Talk about real numbers. But do not pretend every data center is going to become a massive local employer if that is not true. People can smell exaggeration, and once they smell it, the whole project starts to feel suspicious. Segment 6, power, water, and noise are the big three. When communities fight data centers, three concerns usually come up again and again. Power, water, noise. Power is the big one. Data centers need reliable electricity, and AI has made that conversation even more intense. The concern is not just, can the data center get power? The concern is, what does this do to everyone else connected to the same grid? Then there is water. Not every data center uses the same cooling system. Some use air cooling, some use water-based cooling, some use hybrid systems, some are designed to reduce water consumption. But communities do not always know the difference. So if developers do not explain the cooling design clearly, people may assume the worst. Then there is noise. Cooling systems, backup generators, electrical equipment, testing, and ongoing operations can create noise concerns. And if the project is close to homes, schools, or quiet areas, residents are going to care. They are not wrong for caring. The smart developer does not dismiss those concerns. The smart developer answers them early with specifics. What cooling system are you using? How much water will it require? What noise controls are being designed? How often will backup generators be tested? What are the expected power requirements? What upgrades are needed? Who pays for them? What protections are in place for the surrounding community? That is how you lower resistance, not by telling people they just do not understand technology. That is not strategy. That is arrogance wearing a hard hat. Segment 7. Why this matters for hospitals, facilities, and local infrastructure. This conversation is not just about big tech. It matters for hospitals, universities, municipalities, industrial sites, and facilities teams too, because AI and digital infrastructure are spreading everywhere. Hospitals are using more digital systems, imaging technology, AI tools, connected devices, and data-heavy platforms. Municipalities are thinking about smart infrastructure, security systems, emergency response, and digital services. Industrial sites are using automation, sensors, robotics, predictive maintenance, and connected equipment. All of that adds pressure to power and cooling systems. So the data center fight is really a preview of a bigger infrastructure problem. We are entering a period where digital growth is forcing physical upgrades, electrical capacity matters, backup power matters, cooling matters, grid readiness matters, equipment lead times matter, utility coordination matters, and communities are going to become more aware of all of it. The old model was build the digital tool first and worry about infrastructure later. That model is breaking. The new model has to be plan power, cooling, land, grid, and community impact from the beginning. Because if you wait until the project is already controversial, you are not doing strategy. You are doing damage control. Segment 8. What a smarter data center project should look like. So what should happen? First, transparency. Communities need real information early, not vague talking points, real information. Power demand, water use, cooling design, noise controls, construction timeline, grid impact, local tax impact, permanent jobs, construction jobs, environmental safeguards. Second, better design. Data centers should not be treated like giant mystery boxes dropped into communities. Design matters, location matters, noise barriers matter, setbacks matter, aesthetics matter, energy efficiency matters, cooling choices matter. So does how the project connects to the grid. Third, local benefit. If a community is hosting major digital infrastructure, there should be a clear local upside. That could mean tax revenue, workforce development, local contracting, community investment, infrastructure upgrades, or partnerships with schools and technical programs. Fourth, earlier planning. Developers, utilities, municipalities, engineers, and facility leaders need to talk earlier. Not after everyone is angry, not after the town meeting has turned into a public trust bonfire. Early planning can prevent a lot of chaos. And fifth, stop insulting the public. That one is free. When people raise concerns, do not treat them like they are too simple to understand innovation. Explain the trade-offs, answer the questions, show the numbers, respect the fact that the community has to live with the decision. That is how serious infrastructure gets built. Conclusion. So, are data centers evil? No, that is too easy. Data centers are part of the backbone of modern life. AI, cloud computing, hospitals, finance, government systems, cybersecurity, logistics, and everyday digital tools all depend on physical infrastructure. But communities are not wrong to ask hard questions, because every data center comes with trade-offs: power, water, noise, land, grid capacity, jobs, tax benefits, trust. And if the benefits feel distant while the burdens feel local, people are going to push back. That is the real story. Not that communities hate technology, not that data centers are automatically bad. The real story is that AI's physical footprint is finally becoming visible. And once people can see it, they are going to question it. The future of AI will not just be decided by chips, models, and software. It will also be decided by zoning boards, utility planners, facilities teams, engineers, local governments, and communities asking, what does this cost us and who benefits? That is where the next infrastructure fight is happening. And if companies want to build the future, they need to stop pretending the future has no neighbors. This is the power edge